It's a century-old bungalow. My family have lived here for the last 60 years. I myself have stayed in this bungalow for the last 43 years. So it's not just my memories, it's the memories of all my family members that are tucked into the pillars of this house that stands tall for the last 100 years. Now, this house is basically has fantastic history and heritage. Number one is one of the first houses to be electrified in Malaysia back in 1920. In 1959, my grandfather bought this property. My grandfather's name is Nikka Singh, who was an ex-police constable during the British Raj. And after the Malaysian independence, my grandfather was offered a job in the PDRM, and he took up the job, and he took an early retirement, and he was based in Sentul. After 57, he moved into Rawang, and he landed himself as a guard, security guard in the company, Berjuntai Tin Dredging. And Berjuntai Tin Dredging ceased the operation in the 70s. He was offered to purchase the house because of his good work, his service to the company. And my grandfather bought this house for $3,500 straight dollars. And together with his family, he moved into the house.
ਮੇਰੇ ਸਹੁਰੇ ਨੇ ਮੁੱਲ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਘਰ 1959 ਚ 3,500 ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਮੇਰੀ ਮਦਰ-ਲੋ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ ਲਵਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਮਦਰ-ਲੋ ਦੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਹਸਬੰਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ ਲਵਾਤਾ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਿਰ ਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਵਾਕ ਜੂਗ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਲੇ ਆ, ਸਾਰੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਇਕੱਠੇ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਤੇ 1960 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੀ ਨਨਾਣ ਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਇਆ, ਦੋ ਨਨਾਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਏ 1960 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਮਗਰੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਗਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਾਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਗਏ ਨਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਜਵਾਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੋਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਜਵਾਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਆਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ।
Prior to my grandfather's occupation, it was an English gentleman who resided in the house, who was an accountant of that mining company. And when my grandfather moved in, he was together with his 9 siblings, my uncles and my aunties. They all moved in here, and he also raised his kids in this house. And eventually this house was passed on to my father, who was the eldest of the son from Mr. Nikka Singh, my grandfather. He was offered this house due to his good service given to during his employment to Berjuntai Tin Dredging.
This house is 102 this year, and also 18 weddings took part here, and even my father's wedding. I'm lucky to be staying in this house. I hope my next generation will also do the same as I did.
I'm the 4th generation who's residing in the house. First was my grandfather Nikka Singh, and then my father Mahinder Singh Sidhu, and thereafter this house was given to me with my mom, who is also residing with me. And now the fourth generation is my daughter, my eldest daughter Amber, and together with my youngest daughter who is here, they are now also residing together in this house with me.
ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਿਆਹੀ ਆਈ ਸੀ 1963 ਅਪ੍ਰੈਲ 'ਚ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਹੁਰਾ ਸੀ ਇੱਥੇ, ਮੇਰੀ ਸੱਸ ਸੀਗੀ ਨਿੱਕਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀਗਾ, ਨਾ ਜਗਦਿਆਲ ਕੌਰ। ਮੇਰੀਆਂ 6 ਨਨਾਣਾਂ ਸੀ, 7 ਵਿੱਚੇ ਵਿਆਹੀਆਂ ਵੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਵਿੱਚੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਿਆਹੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਤੇ 3 ਮੇਰੇ 2 ਦਿਓਰ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਵਾਕ ਸੀਗੇ ਮੇਰੇ। ਇੱਥੇ 6 ਜਵਾਕ ਹੋਏ ਮੈਨੂੰ। ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਵਸੂਣੀ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਘਰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਰਹੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਦਾ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੀ ਰਹਿ ਜੂਗੀ ਇੱਥੇ, ਸਾਡੀ ਵੀ ਰਹਿ ਜੂਗੀ।
And what I understand from my mom, 35 children were born in this house, and 18 weddings have taken place in this house, including my wedding myself in 2005. And I think the bigger part over here is the sentimental value of this house is, apart from the wedding and the grandkids, I'm the 3rd generation who's residing here. So we have strong connection with this house. I think the pillars of this house carries memories of my family. The historical value of my house goes back in 1920 when electricity came into Rawang. When we moved in 1959, there was already existing supply, and apparently that supply came from the national grid. But we were told this house, the electricity was supplied from the mines, which were believed come from the gensets, generators. So, but when we came in 1959, we only changed the electricity wiring once because we had to change the ceiling of this house because it was deteriorating. We only changed the wiring once only. Other than that, the other historical value is what we understand the structure of the house is Sino Palladium, which is Italian design. and it dates back in the 1920s, where majority of the houses had the Sino-Palladian structure. And when we moved in, my grandfather moved in, we only had 2 ensuite bedrooms and 1 drawing room. Other than that, even the kitchen was not built in-house. The kitchen was in the staff quarters. And when we moved in, we had to do minor changes in because my grandfather moved in with his 9 siblings, so he had to actually make more bedrooms. Originally, this house only had 1 drawing room and 2 master bedrooms.
I'm lucky that I can share this house with my close friends, and that people from many countries in the world come here to see this beautiful house, and that I can meet them and also learn what kind of heritage they have, and they can learn what heritage I have as well. I am happy that I'm still living in this house and that I wish to live here forever.
We have not changed the doors, which are still dating back to 1920. The lock. We had actually a very special visitor from Poland, a lady by the name of Marta and a gentleman Bartek. They actually sent me an email, is it possible for them to stay here? I was very honored to host them in the house, and they stayed in my house for 3 days, and they moved on to, I think after that, to Indonesia to see, because they wanted to have a historical trail of their visit to overseas. Apart from that, we also had visitors from Australia. This gentleman came with his family, and he contacted me online and said, can I come and take pictures?